everyone. My name is Mihaela with the podcast Hey Stella. And I think that one of the most exemplary thing that is happening right now with what I was trying to make a point of for so many episodes, 33 to be more exact, in understanding the responsibility and understanding the courage of actors. And I don't know if people still got it. And then this week happens when, if you're watching on television, as I am, I'm stuck to the TV. I cannot believe what it is happening in our world. First of all, it wasn't enough that we had to deal with a pandemic. It wasn't enough that we had to take that on and deal with it, with the death of so many people. And now the invasion by the Russians of Ukraine is happening. Everything can change in one split second. You can just go about your life and you can think that you have problems. And then something happens when someone in power is a madman, as most people seem to be in power nowadays, starting from small institutions to countries. It just seems that the power and the people who are taking that power are the ones who don't seem to want to do good for the people. They are disruptors for bad. I always speak about the actors and their responsibility to illuminate humanity. And I don't think that there's a better example ever in the history of my life, going back to anything that I have learned about acting, that is going to demonstrate what I'm talking about more than what is happening today. And I'm referring specifically to the Ukrainian people. First of all, they are the most courageous, they're the most patriots. And I'm not saying that I'm an expert in politics, I'm not saying I'm an expert in history, but I am so moved by President of Ukraine, President Zelensky, and his people for their fight, for their not giving up against such a power as Russia, in their fight for democracy, in their fight for our humanity and our world to be a better place. I did not know much about Ukraine, and I wanted to do a little bit of a checkup to see where such a young president as Zelensky comes from and what his backstory is. And then over the last couple of days since the invasion started, watching television, most of the people were referring to his backstory, and they were talking about the fact that he, before he became president-elect, before the people elected him as president of their country, Ukraine, he was an actor, a comedian, and he had a show on television called Servant of the People for I don't know how many years. The series was watched. People were loving this character that he was portraying. I believe he was playing a school teacher, and due to his beliefs and due to his commitment as the character in the series, people started to relate to that character as more than just him being a actor playing a character on television, but they started to relate to the man Zelensky and his character as a human being, not him playing the character, but they saw him as a man with character. And that got me thinking, and I've been saying this before so many times, people go to see movies, people watch series on television, people go to the theater nowadays more so than ever, because there are not enough people outside of the entertainment business. There are not enough real people in the world, not actors, to have character, to have dignity, to have morality, to have kindness, to have empathy. So people nowadays, because of the world going in disarray, are having to hold on and are having to look up to actors playing characters with character. That blows my mind, because on one side, if you look at President Zelensky, what his service to humankind, first of all to his people, but then to the entire world, maintaining, taking on the risk to go from an actor who could have just stayed an actor and he could have been just famous and played his series. People loved him as an actor. He was famous, but that was not sufficient for him. He wanted to do service for his people. He wanted to do something bigger. He was fighting for something bigger than himself. But that is what actors, that is what true artists are meant to do. They are meant to be active. They are meant to be activists, to open the eyes of people who do not understand or who do not have anybody else in the real world to look up to. Then he comes in as an artist, as an actor, playing this human on television, playing this character who is decisive, who is concerned about people, who is concerned about something that's bigger than himself. The series was called Servant of the People. And people love him so much on television that they decide that they want him to be their real president in real life. Do you understand the power of actors? Do you understand the power of artists? Now, to have President Zelensky and his risking his life and risking the lives of his family, still deciding that he's not going to leave Kiev. He's not leaving Ukraine. He's not giving up on his people. He's calling for them to keep on fighting. He's taking this risk with such bravery and with such courage that it's so inspiring to me to want to do something, not necessarily take arms, because I'm not courageous enough to be able to ever do that. Like they are civilians, people in the government, people, women from 18 men to 60, they're dressed in normal civilian clothes and they're taking on arms to go and put their life at risk, with the stakes being that high that they could die, but they will do so because country is more important than one individual. When I was telling you guys about the fact that, there are people who start out as playing characters and then those characters become so into the mind of the people and into the hearts of the people at home, there's a double sword. It can go both ways. It can go that the person who's playing the character and the people relate to can disrupt for good. But then in other cases, such as Donald Trump, people can relate to him having to do with his reality television that he was on for such a long time. So people feel like they know him. Then he gets to be president and he comes on. And with that power of the presidency, he goes to disrupt for bad. President Zelensky, who could have very well done absolutely nothing to put his life in jeopardy, and he could have stayed as one of the famous actors in Ukraine, saw how much the people needed to have somebody who has character, the same as the character he was playing on the series Servant of the People, that he needed to go and campaign to become president-elect of Ukraine. I mean, this is unbelievable. This is so incredible. Did you know that?
I remember something about him being a comic or something.
Actor on the series. I mean, it's incredible. And then due to the people's identification to him.
But there are other examples. Arnold Schwarzenegger, governor of California.
Thank you so much.
Jesse Ventura, who the pro wrestler.
Thank you. Who else?
Governor of Minnesota. Well, Al Franken, the comedian who became a
The,
senator.
exactly. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm trying to convey to people about the importance of people in the entertainment business. When you are taking the responsibility to be part of the entertainment business, you are not just taking on the responsibility to portray humanity in a way that it is pretend to portray it. You are taking that responsibility, and if you're going for it, you are part of portraying our human stories. And those human stories that you are portraying as President Zelensky, and you're portraying a school teacher in a series that then becomes a president because of his wanting to defend his people and working for the people. And then you have Donald Trump, who had a series on television for I don't know how many years, and then people related to his persona that he was portraying and elected him as the president because they feel that they know him. This is the importance of artists. This is the importance of acting that I've been hitting over and over again during my episodes of Hey Stella. To see this courage, to see the bravery of the Ukrainian people, and to see the bravery of President Zelensky when he is being offered by the American to leave the country so he will not be killed. I mean, this is like, talk about the stakes when we're talking about a script and we're trying to figure out what the character is going through and what are the stakes, what is the life and death situation for the character in a play or in a movie. Yes, those are fictional situations. He went from fictional situations to real life. The stakes that he might have had as the character on the series now is turning into the reality. The fictional life that he was living as a character is now a reality with the life or that stakes situation where he knows that today or tomorrow might be the last time that he was alive. He even said that. When I say that ACT, ACT is not just for act. Act is not for pretend, as so many people believe acting to be. Act is for act, do, activism. Don't sit back and watch other people, your neighbors, your countries, other countries, the world. Help, act, be active in any way that you can. Anybody can do something. We all can do something that's not just going to benefit ourselves as individuals. What are we doing? What are we doing? I don't even understand why at this point the NATO countries and everybody else is not helping the Ukrainian people and President Zelensky much more. I understand there's all these regulations. You can't because they're not part of NATO. And there's all these rules that, you know, if they do go ahead to protect and to help the Ukrainian people, then Vladimir Putin, with his crazy mind and the madman concept of him wanting to be the old Soviet Union, might decide that he's going to the nuclear, that he is now threatening the people with the nuclear disaster. But for somebody like that, if he's already threatening to do that, because you leave him alone to go and invade Ukraine, that doesn't mean that he's going to stop. You can't deal rationally with a man who's mad or who pretends to be mad. As somebody said, maybe it's just his tactic. Nobody knows if he's actually mad or he's just pretending to be mad. So to say, again, in his tactic to the people, you better not play with me because I'm capable of destroying the world. I mean, this guy is crazy to just invade Ukraine, when I think most of the Ukrainian people had no idea that they were going to be invaded by Russia. What have they done? The propaganda that the Russian President Vladimir Putin is coming with reminds me of the revolution in Romania. I think the reason why I'm so triggered by this is because in 1989, when the population of Romania, where I'm from, decided to rise up, they couldn't take anymore the dictatorship that we had for 40 some years with Ceausescu and his wife, Elena Ceausescu. And they decided to rise up. I was in Bucharest at that time. In the chaos that happened the first and the second days, nobody knew what was going on. So the people who were the first to take power of Romania who took over the one TV station that we used to have at that time, at first they were saying that there's people from the outside coming to take our country. They were trying to do the same thing that Vladimir Putin is doing right now. They were trying to find justification because they didn't know which way the revolution was going to go. So they were trying to protect themselves lies by speaking untruths. And this is the same thing with Vladimir Putin. The propaganda, I would think that people around the world would be used to that, having had so many other examples in countries like Romania and now Ukraine. I would think that they would be smart enough to understand that with somebody like Vladimir Putin, you have to do something about it. You can't say, I'm going to play nice with him and rational because we don't want him to go into the nuclear weapons to start third world war. It doesn't mean that if you're leaving him alone to go into Ukraine and to, God forbid, I hope, not kill any more people than he's already killed and then kill President Zelensky, he's not going to do what he's saying already that he's going to do. I mean, I just don't get it. I know I'm not a politician, I'm not a political strategist, but I just don't feel that some of the people who are powerful enough from the NATO countries are doing everything that they can to be able to stand up to the crazy, stand up to the madman. Why is it that always these people who have damage ideas for people and they're only thinking about themselves and the people that they surround themselves with to do good and to enrich those people, why is it that they're always ending up to be in powerful positions? Why is that? This world is becoming a world where the fiction and the characters in fictional scenarios on TV series, in movies, in reality shows are the only people that the rest of the world and the rest of us watching as audiences, as spectators, can look up to them as an example. President Zelensky, who was associated with his Spartacus moment right now because of his bravery and because of him not giving up and not wanting to leave. So he's jeopardizing his life and that of his circle and his family because he stands for something that's bigger than himself. And we have him, an actor, first to play a president and our real president to look up to, because we don't have any other people in the reality world to look up to. That is so sad. Don't you find that to be so sad? I think it's so sad. I think it's so sad. Going back to Romania and the chaos that was happening when I was there during the revolution, nobody knew what was going on. It was so much chaos. We would have loved, we have been waiting for the Americans to save Romania for like 40 years. I remember, when are the Americans coming? When are the Americans coming? And they couldn't come because of the same stupid rules and regulations that they have. But they're not taking into consideration that some of these rules have to be changed or adjusted if you have to do with madmen like Vladimir Putin or like Ceausescu at the time of Romania being a communist country. I wanted to take this time just to pray and appreciate, wish that we can all be just a little bit better to our neighbors, to our other nations, and take the example of the Ukrainian people who are saying, knowing that their lives are at stake. They're saying, go fuck off, as it happened with the big ship from Russia that was telling them untruths again by asking them to put their arms down, because if not, the bloodshed that's going to happen is going to be on their hands. Again, untruths, untruths. Put your arms down, surrender. So they were given a way out and they decided they're not going to take the way out. They risked their life and they said, go fuck yourself. And then they were killed. I mean, I don't even know. I don't even know how that sentiment feels. I don't even know how that kind of strength and fight in anybody. I don't know where that is inside of me. But to see them, to see these amazing, extraordinary Ukrainian people doing that in all the cities all over Ukraine gives me a glimpse of hope that we can be better, that we can do better. And I wish that they would be helped more by the powerful countries who are able to help them more. One of the politician from the States came on one of the channels on television yesterday, Adam Kissinger. And he was saying on CNN, he was saying, I don't understand why the Americans and the NATO countries are not declaring a no-fly zone over Ukraine. It doesn't mean that you have to implicate these countries. These countries don't have to implicate into the war to go against Russia, but at the same time, they can do more than what they're doing. And I just feel that when you have somebody that you're fighting against who's not playing by the rules, then why do you still keep the rules that were put in place before the crazy man was not playing by the rules? It just doesn't make sense. I just don't understand. And I feel that sometimes, the adjustment of those rules and the adjustment of the tactics, going back again to acting, it's like in acting, you're trying this tactic that doesn't work. You're playing against another character who is a madman. Then you have to kind of maneuver yourself in a direction and approach that person in a different way than you would have thought if you was a normal person, or if you wasn't crazy to romanticize, oh, how beautiful everything was when there was the Soviet Union, and the greatest time in all of our world was having the Soviet Union in power. I mean, this is a person who's completely delusional, or if he's not delusional, he's playing delusional. If he's playing delusional, how do you then play to that person? You don't play with the same regulations and with the same rules that you would have if he was not that person. President Zelensky, oh my God, the Ukrainian people, you are an inspiration to us all, and a reminder to us all that we can all do a little bit better in our life. It doesn't mean that we have to do things that are going to put our lives in jeopardy. I don't know if I ever had the bravery or if I will ever have that courage, but to do just a little bit more than what I'm comfortable with doing. It's so extraordinary because I just there was an interview that I did with Ellen Burstyn a couple of years ago. She allowed me to do that. And that was like such a remarkable, extraordinary thing, because she doesn't do a lot of interviews with, I didn't see her do a lot of interviews. And I just posted it again because it popped up as one of those memories that comes up. And one of the things that she said when I asked her, she said so many incredible things, but one of the things that she said when I asked her, what is method? What is technique? What is acting? And she went on to say, method and technique is teaching us how to be able to play characters and make them be real and believable. Therefore, transforming the fictional circumstances into real situations because of the reality with which we play them. So we have to react to those situations that are fictional as if they were real. And that will make us real human beings that people will then identify with. Because if you're playing a character on television and pretend to be the character, she said, that will go to a different part of the brain of the spectators that will not make spectators or audiences feel anything. But if you play those characters believable and real and transform the fictional into reality, then the people watching will get that into a different part of your brain, and they will feel. They will feel for those characters, they will feel for those situations, and they will then identify, they will feel what those characters lived by the actors who are the artists are giving them. They will feel that they are not alone. They will identify with those characters so much that they will want those characters to step out of the fictional situations and be put into the real situations. Going back to the example of President Zelensky from Ukraine, it's just unbelievable what is going on and how much of the line between the fiction and the reality is becoming now blurred in so many ways. And when it is for the purpose of doing good, it is wonderful. But then when it is blurred for the purpose of doing bad, like speaking on truths, propaganda everywhere, than it is for the purpose of doing evil. And that is where I think the artists have to come in and the actors have to come in. And we have to show more of the blurring of the line with the purpose of disrupting for good. That's all I have to say. Again, these are just my opinions from a point of view of an actress, from the point of view of an acting teacher, acting coach. I am just as moved by everything that's going on as a person, and therefore I am sharing my opinions. I just hope that something will be done in a way that it is a little bit more than what is being done right now for Ukraine, because you have to remember, for those people out there who may think, well, this doesn't affect us in America, or this doesn't affect us in other countries, this is the Ukrainian problem. It's not. They're the ones that are standing between the dictatorship and the democracy. They're not just fighting for their country to be a free country, a democratic country. They're fighting to put a stop to people like Vladimir Putin from his continued desire and want and crazy delusional objective to occupy other countries and not let them be free. The fight is against dictatorship. The fight is for democracy. It is a universal fight that the Ukrainians are fighting. It's not just a personal in their country fight. It is for the entire world. It is for all of us. It is for the future of this world, for the future of our humanity. And what do I say in the beginning of most of the Hey Stella podcast? Actors are the one profession with the responsibility, the biggest responsibility to portray humanity with the most illumination, with the most courage and bravery. And again, to have such an amazing example of President Zelensky, his family, his circle of people in government who are not giving up. They're fighting. They're fighting as characters would do. People with characters keep on fighting, going beyond themselves, fighting for something more than themselves, and with the risk, the biggest risk of all, their life being at stake. Thank you so much. Prayers to Ukraine, to the Ukrainian people, to President Zelensky. Thank you. Bye.